Call it a get-right game if you must, but even without Jaden Daniels, the Commanders have to take advantage of a Raiders team that has significant flaws on both sides of the ball. That and more right now on Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Commanders. I'm David Harrison, your guy on the ground covering the Washington Commanders for WUSA 9. And I'm right here with you every 5 days a week, I should say, every 5 days a week. Sometimes a bonus episode like today. You can also find me writing about the Commanders for Sports Illustrated's CommanderGameDay.com. You can follow me on X at DHarrison82. I want to thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen or your first view today. And to the everydayers, those of you who come through for every single episode, thank you especially for coming through for today's bonus episode. If it's your first time through, bonus episode time, a little bit shorter than usual, a little bit more pointed information, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully you come back again for more real soon. Coming up on today's episode, I'm going to outline my game plan for the Washington Commanders to advance to 2-1 with a win over the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday afternoon. That is coming up on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Losing Jaden Daniels might seem like a setback, but against this specific Raiders defense, Marcus Mariota's rhythm passing and his decisive scrambling ability is actually a perfect tool for the job to beat this Las Vegas Raiders team. We're going to start off with the offensive side of the ball, and we're going to break this down between the 20s. We're going to go into the third down offense, and we're going to go into red zone. We're going to talk about what I think the Washington Commanders can pull off against this Raiders defense, how the Raiders defense might try to counter it, and what the Washington Commanders can have in their back pocket as an adjustment to respond to those counters. Okay, so between the 20s, just your everyday first or your every down, first and second down type of play. I think a lot of outside zone runs and setting up the Y cross play action concept is going to be very effective against this Raiders defense. What this attack does is it exploits the aggressive tendencies of Raiders linebackers like Devin White and Jermaine Pratt. Devin White, I'm very familiar with during my time covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a Tampa Bay Buccaneer for much of that time, specifically the Super Bowl run. Something that he's really good at is flowing with the run, filling gaps. Something he's not that great at is he does tend to over pursue during run pursuit, but he also is very suspect in pass defense. So if you can get him running in one direction really hard, if you can get him biting down on the run really hard, you can hit him with that play action, get that Y crosser over the backside of him, and potentially exploit that matchup for a big play. Jermaine Pratt, the new Raiders linebacker, Jermaine Pratt, also susceptible to the same types of things. So what you want to watch for if you're looking out for this concept and this idea, I should say, on the field on Sunday, watch for those hard outside zone runs to hit and hit effectively. That's going to set up that play action. So you have an outside zone run fake from a shotgun, most likely a trips formation, three receivers aligned to one side with the Y receiver, probably tight end Zach Ertz on the opposite side. You run that really hard play action. You run the Y receiver, most likely again Zach Ertz, behind those linebackers who have now bit hard on that run action, and you drop the ball over them, potentially in front of the safeties. But who knows? If you get the safeties to bite too, you might be on top of the safeties as well to go ahead and hit that for a big play. How the Raiders are going to try to counter this, how I anticipate them trying to counter this, is just try to play discipline. The safeties might play a little bit deeper than normally they would if they do understand that their linebackers are susceptible to this type of a thing. And if the run game gets going, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but you might actually tell your safeties, hey, guys, watch out for the play fake. And the safeties might play a little bit more conservative over the top to try to make sure that they're in the right position in case Devin or Jermaine or both do get caught up in that hard run action from the Washington Commanders offense. So a contingency to that adjustment by the defense for Marcus Mariota is to attack the entirety of the field. Don't let the safeties just sit there comfortably and say, okay, we're going to keep a lid on you and your options aren't going to be there. If the Y crossing route is taken away, that's why you have those other three receivers in the formation. Use those other areas. Use your legs if you need to get north and south. Because again, if you play action, run action on an outside zone run and the linebackers bite down on it, but the safeties are in position to stop that Y crosser from hitting, well, if you still have those linebackers biting hard in one direction, flow opposite of the run action, head upfield, and potentially get some yards with your legs, or find an underneath drag route or something that's countering that Y crosser for an underneath completion. Take what the defense is going to give you type of thing, right? That's our between the 20s type of concept. So again, outside zone runs, setting up a hard outside zone run play action. Look for that wide crosser, most likely again Zach Ertz, coming from the backside of the play into the front side of the play on third downs. And then what you want to do here is exploit the Raiders' lack of rush lane integrity, right? They've had a hard time containing keeping to their rush lanes. I think that's something that Marcus Mariota and the Washington Commanders offense can take advantage of. Again, Marcus, more of a decisive north-south type of scrambler, not as much an extend the play, run, side to side, try to find areas to work. He's going to kind of make a decision. He's either scrambling to extend the play or he's scrambling to take off and gain yards. He's not usually the kind of guy to kind of bounce between both of those things. So when the pocket collapses, watch for Marcus Mariota to potentially step up and just kind of hit that straight line yardage, go for the first down marker, not really a dancer in the backfield. 33-yard scramble play on 4th and 1 against Dallas last year. I think you all remember that. That's a prime example of what we're talking about with Marcus Mariota and his rushing ability. The Raiders counter. They're going to try to be disciplined in their rush lanes. They're going to try to prevent escape lanes up the middle. Now, Marcus Mariota is really good at exploiting. Don't be surprised if they spy him. I know that with Jaden Daniels, spying is a very popular tactic. I think with Marcus Mariota, if you're the Raiders, you still probably want to spy, at least to a certain extent. If contained, Marcus Mariota can still rely on his efficient rhythm-based passing ability to get the ball out on time before the rush arrives. The good news about a veteran quarterback is they tend to read defenses just a little bit better, a little bit more confidently, and he can potentially get to his hots even if he can't escape using his legs. In the red zone, we're talking inside the 20-yard line. Plan of attack there, I think, is go to 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. If you're not familiar, featuring Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott without John Bates in. I would love to see them do a little bit of, eligible tight end with whether it's Nick Allegretti or Trent Scott. Now that Andrew Wiley we're expected to start at right guard, whoever it's going to be, tip your hand that you're going to run, but make them stop you anyway, right? I'm not adverse to that, but if it's not going to be that, it's probably going to be Ben Sinnott getting his first opportunity really there. Horizontal stretch concepts like mesh routes, mesh route combinations, flat curl combinations. So flat curl combination, you got 2 receivers on one side. One of them is going to run directly into the flat. So, if they're, towards the boundary of the field, one of them is going to run that curl route or that slant, even sometimes basically try to create that pick. That's something that the Raiders like to do a lot. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit too. Isolate the Raiders linebacker in coverage on Zach Ertz so that Marcus Mariota can find easily the most reliable red zone target on the field. How to identify it? Look for 2 tight ends on the field. You got Zach Ertz, Ben Sinnott, and then again, that's that flat curl. One of them is going to hit the flat. One of them is going to just hit a curl right there on the seam. That's where you're going to find Zach Ertz most likely. Ben Sinnott probably hitting the flat more often than not. Mariota previously hit him, Zach Ertz being him, with an empty shotgun set touchdown pass in one of his 2 other previous significant showings in 2024. Both times Marcus Mariota was on the field for a significant amount of time in 2024. He found Zach Ertz for touchdown passes. The Raiders counter, everybody likes to run a bend, don't break defense these days, allowing touchdowns on only 33% of opponent trips into the red zone right now. So they're going to probably bracket Zach Ertz, which is going to give Ben Sinnott some opportunities. We'll see if he can take advantage of them. Contingency for the Commanders. Forcing their linebackers into coverage is the key to getting this matchup. If Zach Ertz has doubled, the secondary option, like Ben Sinnott, is going to have a one-on-one matchup. And like I just said, he's then going to have the opportunities to make things move. Or if Ben Sinnott's not stepping up and Zach Ertz is getting double covered, move them both. Run Zach Ertz on a corner route, take both those linebackers or that linebacker safety duo, run them out of the play, run Ben Sinnott into the flat, and perhaps Marcus Mariota can hit that north-south go button for a quarterback scramble touchdown. Either way, having a great offensive game plan is one thing, but it means nothing if the defense can't take advantage of a predictable Raiders offense and patch the holes that were exposed in week 2. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is the weekend time, and it's time to look back now and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. So let's go break it on down for the Washington Commanders. Deebo Samuel Sr., wide receiver extraordinary, delivered in a big way in the week 1 win against the New York Giants. He showed exactly why he's the team's most explosive playmaker, taking a jet sweep handoff, using his elite speed to get to the edge on a 19-yard touchdown, doing his best Heineke impression there at the pylon. When the pressure was on to put the game away, he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Even in a short sample size, 2 weeks, Debo scored again, showing that he is capable of impacting every single game. Just like Debo Samuel delivered for the Commanders, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You can save every Saturday you order. So stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. The promo period runs through November 18th. Today's episode of Locked On Commanders is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here and in full swing, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer right now. New customers, you bet just $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use anywhere on the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits how you like to bet. Player props, building same-game parlays, or even jump in live as the game is unfolding. It makes every game more exciting. Since I'll be at the stadium on Sunday, I'll be putting a little same-game parlay together before I get to work. Based on our offensive game plan from segment 1, you know I'm looking at a Zach Ertz anytime touchdown prop. He's Marcus Mariota's most reliable red zone target. He's everybody's most reliable red zone target, and the Raiders' defense has shown they can be vulnerable to tight ends. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little bit of energy to your Sunday experience. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel.com, one more time, to place your first $5 bet. Today's episode of Locked On Commanders also brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home. You know the places. It could be your local sports bar that's packed on game days. It could be the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or it could be the deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together, and when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. There's a local sports bar in my neighborhood that basically becomes the backup stadium every Sunday for those of us who aren't heading to the games. Everyone's a team colors. The energy is incredible, and it's like the entire community is there just kind of cheering on together. Spending money there doesn't just support the business, it supports the people behind it. Those local spots are what make the neighborhood feel like home, and so many of those run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedonnfl to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. You don't need to overthink this Raiders offense. The defense for Washington can win this matchup by simply stuffing the Raiders' non-existent inside run game and forcing a mistake-prone Geno Smith into obvious passing downs. It sounds simplistic because sometimes it is simplistic. It's a little bit harder to actually force it to happen, but the idea can be a little bit more simplistic. Between the 20s, the Raiders are going to try to use an inside zone run. It's been a consistent failure this season, but the Raiders do try to establish the run early on. They just get very pass happy as they fall behind, which has happened quite often here a little bit. Now, they won the first week, game contest, but against the Los Angeles Chargers specifically, just couldn't get anything running. With a dominant run interior defense, Washington is allowing only 2.9 yards per carry up the middle. This forces the Raiders to rely on their most potent concept so far, which is that outside run and the wide cross play action pass that comes off it. Same thing we talked about the Washington Commanders exploiting against the Raiders defense is very similar to what the Las Vegas Raiders are probably going to try to exploit against the Washington Commanders, and they're going to be targeting some of these tight ends. The only difference is you're not targeting linebackers. Right? You're not targeting linebackers because they're overly aggressive. You're targeting linebackers because, unfortunately, in week 2, somewhat got caught out of position on several plays. These second and third level defenders is where they're going to be looking for, right? How to identify this? Again, watch for the play action fake off the outside zone run. The primary target is going to be tight end Brock Bowers, number 89, on a deep crossing route designed to attack the linebackers. Quan Martin's going to be a big part of this defense. Obviously, your second level defenders, whether it be Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu in coverage, Jordan McGee when he's out there, Jacob Martin if he's playing off ball, those kinds of things. Will Harris when he's down in the box. Those are going to be your guys. They're looking to defend this. The Raiders' weakness in this whole situation, this whole scenario, is Geno Smith. He's had a dangerous tendency to force the football really his entire career, but especially the first 2 weeks of this season on intermediate and breaking routes specifically, leading to multiple interceptions. So for the Washington Commanders, how you counter this expectation is your linebackers stay disciplined, man. Trust your defensive line to either stuff the inside run or bottle up the outside zone run, push them back inside to you where you should be waiting to make a play. Don't bite on the play action. It was a key vulnerability shown against Green Bay Packers where linebackers were impacted by run action and by motion. leading to some really big completions. On third downs, third and short, 1 to 3 yards, the Washington Commanders need to commit to stopping the inside zone run. That's what the Las Vegas Raiders are probably going to try to do. On third and medium, I think you need to use that press man coverage that you love to run so much to disrupt quick hitting, stick and shallow cross concepts. Third and long, 7+ yards, use a disciplined 4-man rush, use some stunts, play some games, cross dog, fire zone, blitz, all that kind of stuff to attack the Raiders offensive line, who has had communication issues. Can't go through all the terminology, but cross dog blitz is not something that we've necessarily talked about here. A lot of times, what cross dog basically generally looks like is you've got X amount of players on the line of scrimmage, but at the end of it, when everybody rushes, one of your linemen drops off into coverage while one of your linebackers or safeties, just a second level, third level defender blitzes, or rushes, I should say. So you end up with a little bit of a communication thing there. And sometimes we've seen the Washington Commanders do it to where you'll have 4 down linemen, a couple of linebackers, or maybe a safety on the line of scrimmage or near the line of scrimmage in the box. 3 of the down linemen rush. A lot of times that opposite end, DN, will drop into coverage and replace a linebacker that was kind of in the middle of the field while that middle linebacker, off-ball linebacker rushes. We were hoping for is that the quarterback throws it to where the linebacker's coming from, and that D end is probably coming into that area to make a play on the ball. For the Washington Commanders, I think Jacob Martin, hand in the dirt, peel him off as a cover guy, bring maybe Bobby Wagner through the zone, or bring Frankie Louvu through the zone to replace him, and maybe Jacob Martin get his hands on a Geno Smith interception. How to look for third and medium, look for spread formations with Brock Bowers running a stick route, which is a quick out or hitch at the first down marker. And that's kind of thing that the Washington Commanders could potentially try to exploit, is the offensive line inconsistency. Again, the struggles in communications, how to pass off, when to pass off. Now, they do have one of their linemen coming back who was out last week, so that'll be big for the Raiders. But still, it's something you can try to take advantage of. For the Commanders, avoid playing that soft zone coverage on third and medium. It's got to be an exploitable weakness for them. So giving up easy completions at the sticks or past the sticks is not an option. You got to get physical. You got to get aggressive on those third and medium plays. Inside the 20, in the red zone, I think you got to be aggressive. In the high red zone, 11 to 19-yard line or so, the Raiders tend to stall out due to penalties. A lot of holding penalties in this area is where they're vulnerable. So get aggressive, force them to potentially commit a holding penalty, or force them to handle your blitz. And again, you can kind of use these games like we just talked about, cross dog, stunts, twists, all that kind of stuff. In the low red zone, 10 yards and in, defensive front, you just got to dominate your man, right? You got to dominate your assignment, stop that inside zone run, a lot like they did against the New York Giants in week 1. Look for the Raiders to favor a slant flat combination. So we talked about a slant curl combination for the Commanders in the near red zone, or the low red zone. Look for the Raiders to favor a slant flat. So we talked about that a little bit too. You got a slant from the outside receiver, a flat route from the inside receiver, trying to create a pick. Defensive backs have to communicate consistently. They got to know the plan together. They got to work as a duo to make sure these things don't work. The red zone offense for the Raiders has really been very, very bad. They've only scored 1 touchdown in 3 trips in week 2. And then the other 2 trips ended up in interceptions. So again, there is a vulnerability here for the Raiders, even if they move the ball down the field on the Commanders' defensive line. Collapse that pocket, get pressure into Geno Smith. He does not like to throw the ball away. He loves to keep plays alive, and he loves to put the ball up. So get him to do that, take advantage of it as a defense, and get those turnovers. Our fantasy football must start of the week, if you haven't put it together yet, tight end Zach Ertz. The Raiders defense has shown a consistent vulnerability against tight ends. They allowed a touchdown to Patriots tight end Hunter Henry, and the offensive game plan for the Commanders, again, just clearly identifies the Raiders linebackers and coverage are a vulnerability that you need to attack. A high percentage strategy for scoring touchdowns for Zach Ertz is what I see coming for the Washington Commanders this weekend. He is Marcus Mariota's most trusted red zone target. He is just the most trusted red zone target on the team. And again, both times last year against Carolina Panthers and against the Dallas Cowboys that Marcus got significant playing time, he threw a touchdown pass to Zach Ertz in each of those games. So if you have Zach Ertz, start him as far as I'm concerned. That's going to do it for today's game plan bonus episode. A lot of terminology. That's what this episode is for. So I'm sorry if you don't know some of the terminology. Again, feel free to ask me to explain some of these terminologies in future mailbags so that we can do that. But this episode is specifically about game planning. So there's a lot of terminology in it. And we don't necessarily slow down for this specific episode to teach all of it because there's just too much of it. involved. So next time on Locked On Commanders, we're going to be talking about hopefully the Washington Commanders' second win of the season. Won't be as terminology heavy, so we'll be able to do that too. We do have our AAR episodes where I will break down the terminology we used here, whether it worked, whether it didn't work, and why, which will give you a little bit of a better idea of what some of these terms mean if you don't know them already, which I know a lot of you do, but I also know some of you don't, and that's okay. There's no necessary requirement to if you don't already. In the meantime, you got questions or comments, you can text them directly to me by becoming a Locked On Commanders Insider at joinsubtext.com/Locked On Commanders. If you're an insider and you don't know some of the terminology I just dropped on this episode, you can text me and we'll have that conversation. I'm happy to do so. The NFL season is here and in full swing. For your next listen, check out Locked On NFL. Tyler Rowland in the morning, Tony Wiggins in the afternoon. Wednesday afternoons, I'm with Tony. Barbershop vibes. We're talking a little bit of trash. We're talking definitely a lot more looser than we do here on Locked On Commander. So find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to the everydayers. See you. I appreciate you. And I thank you once again for coming through today. Until next time, stay safe, be kind to one another. We'll talk again real soon right here on Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.